Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today we'll be taking a look at the Order of the Dragon and how you can play Order of the Dragon in 3 different ways. We're going to be taking a look at a meta build, a Pro Scouts build. We're going to look at how you can play Pro Scouts with a fast tech timing with units on the field to take many of the deers and then eventually hit a Castle Age timing with Burgrave and Military Academy so you can pump a lot of men-at-arms. We are also going to look at how you can play archers in general with Order of the Dragon, as it is one of the strongest aspects about the Civ, as I would actually conceptualize Order of the Dragon as not only an infantry Civ, but as a strong archer Civ. We're going to look at a Dark Age Rush, and we're going to take a look at a hybrid build order as well. Some of you people wanted to see that as well, so I'm going to include that in this video, as I think Order of the Dragon is actually one of the best hybrid Civs and water Civs in general. So let's get into it. The first build we take a look at is the Pro Scouts. So Pro Scouts for Order of the Dragon is really, really strong because Order of the Dragon has got really strong villagers. They've got good landmarks to support playing a strategy like Pro Scouts where you're playing narrow in your base. And you have to play Pro Scouts. It's the meta. We are currently in a situation where every Civ is playing Pro Scouts, and there's some Civs that are better at playing Pro Scouts than others. Order of the Dragon, I would say, places itself sort of in the middle of all of the Pro Scout Civs, but they do have some pretty good things going for them, such as Burgrave Palace with Military Academy, and with Pro Scouts you can pump a lot of men-at-arms, support that with archers, as Order of the Dragon is a really good archer Civ as well. You have a very strong composition for playing the mid-game. So that's what we're aiming to do here. We want to play Feudal, get the deers collected so there's no more deers on the map, and then we want to go castle. That's our goal. So how does that look? Well, we start off by putting 6 villagers to food. We start with 5. We build a house and a mill. We rally 1 from our TC to sheep, and then we rally 3 to gold. Okay, so what is happening here? Well, we don't want to gather from the berries anyway, so we put our mill right beside the TC. You can choose to put it over here, but it's going to give you a worse H-up time. So if you want to be really min-maxing, put it here. House goes in the front, and we don't really care too much about chapel because we've got Mindvac, so we can just put our buildings in the front here. We're not really going to care too much about get a chapel to cover resources and eventually getting farms and stuff. Just put your buildings sort of in the front here, and you can put farms in the late game in the back should the game go that far. All right, so 6 in food, then mill, house, and then go ahead and build a mining camp and rally a total of 3 villagers onto the gold. We need 3 villagers on gold, and the reason we go with 3 now is because that's the number we need if we want to go ahead and get Pro Scouts immediately upon Feudal Age, which is about 4 minutes into the game. All right. Now the thing is we have high gather rates on these vills, so if you're used to something like a 6-2 opener or 7-3 opener, this is a little bit like the 7-3 opener. But what we're doing here is we're actually not rallying back to food. As you can see here, we are rallying onto wood now. So instead of going for food villagers again, we are just going to start going for wood. We build a lumber camp immediately because we've got that 50 wood extra. Order of the Dragon spawn with extra wood. And then we're going to age up here 208. 208 is a really good benchmark here for starting the age up. You can start 210 if you're not so comfortable, 212, not so comfortable with the drop-offs and stuff. But as you can see here, you can just quickly drop off and then you can get another villager in queue. All right. Mindvac Chapel, not Mindvac Chapel, Mindvac Palace, is going to be built with 2 villagers, 2 food vills, 3 in gold, and then you rally wood until you have 6 villagers on wood. We need the wood for stable, archer range, Pro Scouts, all those things, upgrades eventually, maybe a tower. So we need a little bit of wood here. There's also a chance you might want to go spears in case your opponent's fast castling, like if you're playing against let's say Japanese and they go mounted samurai. You want to have spears at some point, and that's a way for you to stay alive for longer if your opponent's going fast castle while you're taking deer. All right, so but besides that, you would be playing stable archer range. Okay, so looking at this, we have 4 on food, 2 aging up, and we're just running until 6 on wood. And then what we're going to try to go for now is to get a Pro Scouts in queue immediately upon age up. You know you have enough gold for that when your gold vein has 3625 left. So 3625 is a number where you know you can pull off gold. But we're not going to pull off gold, right? We just want to get the gold we need. Then we need gold for upgrades afterwards. So you still want to gather a little bit of gold here. So now we've aged up here. And we're going to start a stable immediately. And then we're going to queue up Pro Scouts from our mill. The 2 age of vills go back to food. Remember to drop off sheep as well. We are quite far into this game without sheep, because we did get a few ones earlier, I believe. You want to get your sheeps back so you can continue to stay in base. You don't want to be forced out on the berries or the deer. Just try to stay in base here. All right. So 2 on gold, 6 on wood, rallies of food now. What we're going to do is we're going to do a quick drop off here and then get a horseman in queue. It's kind of like playing the French. We like to have a knight slash gilded horseman in queue. The gilded horseman is going to give you that little bit of punching power that you need to be able to contest and run after enemy scouts. Spears are not so good at that, and a lot of people will open with spears themselves, and so you want that extra mobility. Now, why would you go horseman against spears? Well, we can still do a lot of damage, force people to go back with a cavalry unit. Something like a spear and archer will not be able to do that. They will instead just be running after spears, and there's no guarantee that our opponent's even going for it, right? So, anyways, pro scouts through now. You can take your initial scout if you have the info you need and start taking deer. You want to go up to 4 scouts in total, 1 for scouting and 3 for deers. You can go 4 as well. It's up to you how in control you are in your game to think about how much you need your scout to, you know, get vision, get info. All right. Archer range, we can build archers now. We can build our scouts. And so pro scouts come through a little bit before because we prioritize the horsemen. If you're playing team games or something like that here, you would just maybe skip the horsemen and go instantly on scouts instead. So you can start taking safe deer and you just go Burgrave or relics. So rally food. And this is sort of the end of the build order. Now I will probably say it's a good idea to just think, okay, what am I doing in this game? What's my opponent doing? From there on out, make your game decisions. Remember, most of your strategic decisions aren't made until you go to Castle Age. What I mean by that is you won't go 2DC. You won't go all in here. Fast Castle is really the only way to play this. And then from there on out, you can decide to go for a second TC in Castle or Swabia if you want to go for more eco. If you're in Castle, you can also choose to just go full units. Depends on what your opponent's doing. So full units and sacred sites is a good way to play it as well. Remember to take relics as well. Even though you don't have Regnus, relics are still very strong, so do get them. And that's pretty much it here. That's the thought process behind it all. We've gone for 1 ranged armor here, so we can dive a bit of the TC. And yeah, we're just taking the deer. Then we make a tower on gold, and we re-macro, as you can see here. We put a lot of villagers on gold, a lot of villagers on food, and we put our food villagers onto the deers in our base. That's a really important note as well. So just re-macro 2 to 1, maybe, you know, 3 to 2 or something. You do have a high gather rate from the pro scouts, so, you know, just try to get a nice macro here so you can go to Castle Age in a timely fashion, right? We want to get our Burgrave running as quickly as possible because it's also the main way that we get some value out of our Mindvac Palace. We need to get Military Academy, which is incredibly cheap. And it's what's going to allow you to play with men at arms. It saves you a lot of resources. It's kind of like getting instant relics, getting like 2, 3, 4 relics like this. So just get Mindvac running with the Military Academy immediately upon Castle Age. Burgrave is going to be what you're going to go for in most of your games with a build like this. And then you can play incredibly aggressive with that. You can also just choose to go Swabia with pretty much standard Civ costs unit out of the Burgrave and a fast production speed from the Military Academy. So really, really strong landmark, really good way to play this because you do get a lot of resources just from the relics and from, of course, the deers. So now your Castle Age, 9:30 into the game. We made that with 2 horsemen, 2 archers. We've got a monastery ready already because we macroed onto wood during our H-up. And so we're going to start taking relics immediately. We are also going to go for veterancy on our men-at-arms and then start making gilded men-at-arms. We're going to make gilded archers with veterancy. And yeah, no knights. Here on out, go Military Academy and just play it out that way. So that's as simple as it's gonna get with this civilization. You might think pro scouts are complicated. Think of it this way. Just fight for the deer until there are none left. And make sure that you at least get 2 deer packs. Then go castle. That's gonna give you the timings you need. Don't, you know, make 10 archers in Feudal Age that you're not gonna use. Only make those units if you really need them. And then try to maximize value. You really unlock a big power spike here with the Burgrave. Together with the Military Academy. So I really, really advise to play this strat. You're going to be producing Gilded Man-at-Arms in 15 seconds for the cost of a normal Man-at-Arm. It's insane how much value you get from this landmark, or this combination of landmarks with Pro Scouts. So, really, really strong strat, and I would definitely advise any Order of the Dragon player to get really good with this. Alright, let's jump to the next build order. The next build we're going to take a look at is going to be a Dark Age Spearman Rush, which is incredibly effective against any sort of Knight Civ, any Fast Castle Civ, and I would say even Pro Scout Civ, because you get a lot of value out of an early Spearman. You force your opponent to play more ineffectively, and you can get a nice tempo boost from playing with the Dark Age Spear. So it's a pretty simple build inherently. But what you do after the build is what really matters, because you're not going to win the game with one spear rush. Most opponents know how to deal with it, and if they don't, well, that's a free win for you. But I want to show you how to play the early and mid game here when you're up against a better player. So looking at this, what are you going to do? You're going to take 2 bills to food, 1 to build a barracks, and then you're going to take 2 bills to wood as well. So 2 bills to wood, they're going to gather enough for the spearman. You want to get wood as well for a house and a mining camp. So if you really want to get down to the numbers, you want to get, 60 out of 150 here, but just have enough after the house and spear for a mining camp, and you should be fine because you're going to pull 2 wood bills for it. Then you want to queue a spearman, and you can do that here at about 0.35. And what you want to do then is you want to scout for your opponent's gold. So with this early spearman rush, you can get a nice tempo boost, and you want to use it against a civ like Japanese. Japanese suffers a lot from not being able to just having a lot of gold readily available, and oftentimes they will play some sort of feudal unit, and that's where gilded archers are really strong. Here we scout the enemy's gold. We're going to take this spearman, and we're going to go and play very aggressive. Now we've got the wood we need to go build a mining camp, so we pull our villagers from the straggler tree. See here we gathered 53 out of 150. We've got 7 wood float. And now we're going to go on to the gold here. So just rally food until you can age up. Simple as that. You did a 2-2-1 split. The 1 building the barracks, the 2 on food, the 2 on wood. You rallied food all this time. And now you've sent those wood vills over to gold. That's it. Now we're doing damage with a spear. We have enemy pulling vills. This is quite ineffective. And so this is a very good way to apply pressure. So we rally onto food. Now we're going to age up here at about 3 minutes into this game. You can play this out in the feudal age different ways, as I said before. You can go very heavy on cavalry, or you can play infantry. And I really believe infantry is the way to go here. So we play Mindvac Palace. It's a really good feudal age landmark as well, because you can get ranged armor, ranged attack. And then you can go heavy on archers, and archers absolutely dunk on feudal age and castle age units in the early stages of the castle. Another thing to note here is when you have denied the gold, take the spear and pull them away after you've taken out the mining camp, or when your opponent has aged up. A lot of the times people are building an archer range quite quickly, or have some sort of feudal age landmark like shinobis. So it's a good idea to pull away before that happens, so you don't lose your spearmen, because of course they're expensive. Get another house, get on lumber, and just balance out your macro as you see fit. You can go with 7 on wood here and just get 1 archer range, or you can get more on wood. It's really up to you. We're getting an archer range pretty much immediately here, and we're gonna get double broadaxe a little bit later. Archer range comes out. We're gonna start making archers. We've gone for +1 range attack as well. You can delay that a little bit if you want to, and then we're gonna start going aggressive. So this is a really, really strong way to apply a lot of pressure early, because the gilded archers are just basically longbows with 1 second attack speed, which is quite unusual for any type of unit to see this. They're just so strong, and wood is so easy to collect anyways, so it's a good unit to spam. Here our opponent's building production buildings in the front, so we place our archers here, and we can do a little bit of damage to the units that come out of the main production buildings here. Here we have about 1 spear, 3 archers, and they're going to be able to pretty much take out all of this with minimal casualties. So as you can see, you can kite quite easily. Do a lot of damage. Got that +1. Even the shinobis kind of get 2-shot here. And those are kind of like the hardest things to deal with when it comes to Order of the Dragon. Archers, don't think that's a big problem. Let's see how quick their fire rate is. This is a really, really good way to play Order of the Dragon. It's an archer civ inherently. Archers, and then you can go Burgrave in the Castle Age, get a lot of stuff done like that. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the build order here. We are getting far ahead, we have a lot of pressure applied, and if you play your games out like this and then you start going into rams, you take out the enemy's production buildings here, you will probably do pretty well. Again, another approach you can take is also just to make a lot of units, take some good fights, and then go Castle Age and start taking relics. Take relics, go Burgrave, get the military academy like I talked about before, and then do a lot of damage like that. I want to skip it forward a little bit here so you can just see what it means to sort of mass the archers. I find that the only problem really with playing infantry, of course, is the fact that you are slower. And so if you want to run into the back of someone's base like this, it's going to be quite hard for you if you don't have the numbers for it. So here we see our opponent went a little bit aggressive with their archers. We notice that because of the scout. You're coming around with some aggression, so you're never going to be able to catch up to something like the Yumi archers. Okay, here we can see our opponent wait for tower, samurai, shinobi, spears, right? Lots of units that these archers are incredibly effective to dealing with. But yeah, again, it's one of those situations where it's like your archers are really strong, but they're still not that fast. They're good and fast, but they're not as fast as Yumi. So you're going to be doing a lot of running around. Here, I went for the boar. I think you really got to prioritize getting the outside food sources when you play a strat like this, because it's not pro scouts, right? So getting control of boar is good. Can't be pro scouted, as well as deer too. Again, it depends on how your opponent plays it. If they go for pro scouts after a dog-ish rush, you're usually going to be very fine. Again, my opponent didn't do that here, but that's, you know, that's a great situation for you because they've spent so many resources and so much time trying to get that one upgrade, and you're going to be absolutely fine not going for it because you already have all this other stuff going on for you. So yeah. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit here. I really want to show one fight. Okay, here we are. Just applying pressure, we notice our opponent's going castle. Spearmen at arms, archers, are doing so much damage. More than I actually realized in this moment. So I think a lot of these fights here, I'm a little bit hesitant, and that's sort of the hardest part about playing Order of the Dragon when you're used to playing other civs, is the units are so much stronger, and you don't realize it until afterwards. But yeah, here we have a very important fight coming up in a moment. Go for this one, ram. Do some pressure. We choose to just continue to make archers, because look at this. They absolutely dunk on Castle Age Yumi, and here's a couple of Feudal Age units as well, but this is a very good fight for us. They're just so damn good. I mean, they even slaughter amount of samurai. So I really recommend this build. It's that strong. You're gonna be doing very well with it. All right, let's jump to the last build order. Order of the Dragon is one of the strongest civs for playing water because they have a really good economy. They have pretty good units that you can use to do a lot of damage while you're playing with that good economy on water. So hybrid maps, again, they're quite dominated by Japanese, Mongols, but Order of the Dragon comes in as this sort of, you know, A tier, B tier sort of civ that just does really well against those civs. So I really recommend if you're playing Order of the Dragon to get good at playing hybrid maps because it's quite easy to win them if you play it out like this. Now, unfortunately, again, I didn't have a game for this because it's quite hard to get hybrid maps. But we're going to look at the build order. So, what you're going to do is you're going to send 4 to wood. You're going to take 1 villager, and you're going to build a dock. Remember to take your scout with you. You want to bring your scout so you can see where the deep water fish is. And then you want to place your dock in a fashion so that your shoreline fish can be gathered from by the villager with a minimal like walking distance between the dock and the shoreline fish. So just want to place yourself close to the shoreline fish and the deep sea fish. All right. Then you have the 4 on wood. They're going to gather 2 straggly trees, so be careful of not deleting them. You gather those 2 straggly trees, and then you're just going to rally a couple of those here to food. You're going to rally 3 of those to food, and then you're going to rally onto gold. So now we have 3 in food, with that extra 1 here on the dock. And then we start going with 2 on gold. We make 3 fishing ships, and then we go rally onto food on our main TC, and we go Feudal. Simple as that. Again, if those numbers confuse you, remember they are all transcribed in the description below with build orders as well. You can see everything that I'm talking about here, and that's going to help you as well if you think that it was a little bit confusing when I went through them. All right. So, green food. We got our 4 on our straggler trees. 2 on gold. And now what we're doing is we're just rallying onto food until we can get our chapel. So this is going to be the only build order where we're actually going chapel. Why are we going chapel? We're not going to go Mindvac here, because Mindvac is strong for Feudal Age units. That's something I agree with, yes. But I do believe that since these games often don't really play into the Castle Age, and when they do, it's often about relics instead, we will benefit more from playing with a chapel landmark to get more wood, to get more resources, because sometimes, this is a 4-legs example, but you might play a different hybrid map with ships as well. So getting that wood income increase is quite important. So when you can't get Military Academy and Burgrave value, which you could play for technically here, you can also just play relics like I do. I think it's instead really valuable to play chapel because it gives you scalability in longer feudal fights on water. All right, sheep are dropped off. We have 4 on wood. We're going to end up with 10 on wood, but it's going to be the other 6 villagers from the age up. So these are all food villas that are aging up. They're going to go to the wood line after. So place your chapel on the wood line. Don't build a lumber camp immediately so you diminish the effect of having a drop-off point immediately. Then after that, you can just choose to rally onto food instead. Then what we're going to do is we're going to get an archer range and then a barracks. And that's going to be about 430 into the feudal age. And that's going to give us the unit production facilities that we need. So here at 420. Archer range. And then at 440 here, we go for our barracks with the same villager. And then we're going to start making archers in a moment. We have 3 fishing boats. We start adding in more fishing boats when we feel more comfortable in the feudal age. So for now, we just want units. We want to do aggression. You want to target the enemy's wood, gold, food. You can even go for the build that built the enemy dock if they haven't moved it back. And then you can go for a 1 ram push. 1 ram push is really strong against people who want a fast castle. So a ram onto the gold. You can also go for a fight if they're making units. And then you can use your units, upgrade them, use them in the castle age. Then you can go Reckness if you want to go for relics and play a more safe game, which I would recommend in most cases. Or you can play Burgrave, which is more of a, okay, we're going to try to win the game quite soon type of strat. So 2 different types of ways to approach it. It really depends on what type of game you're looking for. All right. So we're running onto food. We got 10 on wood. We're building houses. We're getting archers, men at arms. You go spears if your opponent went for a fast castle into something like knights or mounted samurai. That's where the Dark Age, so the Feudal Age spearmen from the Order of the Dragon are incredibly strong because they have so much bonus damage. You also saw in the previous game how incredibly strong the archers are. So you can also use those to deal with enemy armored units. They're sort of like mini crossbows. So yeah, that's pretty much how you play hybrid water for Order of the Dragon. Again, I would have loved to get an example game here as well because hybrid is so, what a lot of people sort of a mystery, I would say, when it comes to playing it. But it's as simple as just playing Feudal Age aggression with a bit of a fishing ship economy in the back. So this is not too difficult of a build. I would really recommend playing this if you're in for a longer feudal age. Of course, you can play with a second dock. You can go up to 8 fishing boats here and then go for another dock over here. You can start dock dropping if you really want to make things more complicated. On the enemy pawns, you can also just go for a ram. Rams are incredibly strong in deal with docks because enemy ships don't really do damage to rams. So that's a very good way to deal with enemy docks. And of course, don't delay your castle age if you can go for it and still be relevant on the map, because relics are really strong when you're playing with 1 TC economies. So choose to play it however you want to. Sometimes there is a right answer, sometimes there's no right answer, and just, you know, going castle with whatever landmark is what's going to win you the game, especially if you're playing large naval battles. So there you go. That's pretty much it for this hybrid build order and this build order guide as well. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. If you have any questions about the build, you can of course leave them in the comment section below. Remember, the builds are transcribed. They're in the description. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe and like. If you're interested in coaching, there'll be something about that now. And I'll see you guys in the next one.